So it's late at night here, and I'm just gonna breeze through this video um, as quickly as I can. I'll probably set it to air in the morning, but I just wanted to start off with a quote from Jordan Peterson that inspired me to make this video today. And I love the way that Jordan Peterson speaks. He speaks with like biblical principles, but he speaks in a very modern way. And I just I really appreciate how he speaks, and I'm going to read that quote. It is quote: "It might even be time to sacrifice what you love best, so that you can become who you might become, instead of staying who you are." Close quote. And one of the reasons I haven't been posting as much as recently is I got married. We moved to a new house, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, and the internet is awful. It took me uh, like a month to get the internet, and then eventually I just had to give it to my wife to handle, and she got it done because she's a superhero. But anyways, the first thing I wanted to talk about was there's been 63 million people that have been aborted since 1973, and Roe v. Wade decision was made. 63 million people who would be voting against abortion, and it's probably closer to like 50 something million people, because some of those people wouldn't be 18 yet, but there's at least 45 million votes that would exist that would be anti-abortion if abortion was not a thing. There's 63 million people dead. Ron DeSantis just started a celebrate or a communist, what is it, communist survivor or communist atrocity recognition day over in Florida, and he was talking about how 100 million people have been killed, mostly through the food famines by Mao, which is honestly such an interesting story. And if you have not looked it up, it's super interesting. There's a lot of YouTube channels that have specials on it. I highly recommend diving into it. It is interesting. Um, they were so interested in becoming a developed country that they started melting down their tractors and their farm tools and stuff to make this useless iron. And honestly, it was the most terrible idea that they could have had. And 100 million people died, and a bunch of them became cannibals. But 100 million people is a lot, but 63 million people is pretty close to 100 million people. Um, so it's not just China that's got major problems. It's not just communism. I shouldn't talk ill about China. I should talk mostly about communism. Communism is one of the greatest evils of our time, but certainly abortion is a greater evil than communism, or if not greater than, it's equal. But Tim Pool made a point today about abortion. He says pro-choice would mean both men and women get to choose. The man can choose not to be involved with the woman's choice to have a baby. And he made a video later after posting that, and in his video he was talking about how men should have the choice to give child support or not. And obviously it's a ridiculous claim that men shouldn't have to give child support, but when you think about it, men choosing whether or not to give child support is the exact same principled decision making process of allowing women to abort their children. And if you're against, because they both make the decision to interact in a sexual relationship, generally speaking. I'm not talking about rape or incest or anything like that. I'm talking about a normal sexual interaction. Both parties consent. The woman gets pregnant. They both consented to a sexual relationship or action that would risk the development of a child. Um, and they both participated in that. And so if the woman can choose to abort the baby, then certainly the man can choose to give financial support to that baby. It's the same principle. And I've heard that argument a little bit in the last like week or two, But today, Tim Pool really hit it home. And if you're interested in hearing about that argument, I recommend looking up Tim Pool. He had I think he did 3 videos on his main channel, his Tim Pool channel, or Timcast channel. And it's going to be one of those 3 from the 12th of May. But yeah, so dive into that if you're interested to see how that goes. The last thing I wanted to talk about real fast is during this crazy inflation time, during high gas prices, the Biden administration just started canceling oil lease sales. And it's interesting. You know, my wife said something really inspired. She was wondering about Joe Biden's thought process, and if Biden thought that this cut in oil lease sales would resolve in lowering the gas price. Because, like, what other reason is there to make a decision so absurd that you have some sort of broken brain and you think that this will help the messed up economy? And I thought that was a pretty good point. Like, he must be so broken in the head that this made sense to him, that he thought this would solve inflation and solve the gas prices and energy crisis that we're facing. We can't get baby formula for United States citizens, but we have pallets of baby formula for the illegal aliens that have crossed our border, who have broken our laws and come here illegally. We can't afford baby formula, but we can send baby formula over to Ukraine, and we can line the pockets of oligarchs over there, and we can line the pockets of weapons developers and arms makers. We just sent $48 billion to Ukraine. Maybe it's $43 billion to Ukraine. You know, Elon Musk was given a lot of flack for buying Twitter for $48 billion. I think it was total. So Elon Musk buys Twitter for $48 billion. And people say you could have ended world hunger with that. Well, why didn't we end world hunger with our bill that we're sending to Ukraine? We could have just sent it to the whole world and solved world hunger. It doesn't make sense to me, because we have hunger here at home. We have babies who can't get formula. We have mothers crying because they don't know how to take care of their babies that have special needs and special dietary exceptions. And the world is falling apart. And Joe Biden just cut the lease sales for energy. And I think that that's pretty sad. But yeah, I hope you found this video kind of informative. It was kind of like a rant about my thoughts of the day. It wasn't really focused. Hopefully I'll be more focused in the future, but if you made it all the way through, I appreciate you watching. Have a fantastic day.